Hello and welcome along to another end of season review from this one club Dorking Wanderers story from FM20 with me, Daniel. It's the end of season 13 review, and today we're going to be reacting to our second Premier League top half finish in a row, and we're also going to be trying to plan ahead for our third season. There's a little bit to get through off the pitch, a few things we've got to discuss and a few requests that I'll answer as well. Thanks for all of your comments in the videos throughout the seasons, your suggestions to try and help with some of the questions, and we'll go through those sorts of bits too. And we'll start to look at what we hope can be a big summer here. We've been handed a pretty big transfer budget, and I'm kind of crossing my fingers hoping that we'll be able to make a big move this summer, get in 2 or 3 more of those wonder kids or top class players and be able to push up from that group around 10th place towards maybe 7th, 6th and hopefully some European football soon. But that's all to come. We'll obviously go through our usual plan for the summer transfer window, which players we think will move on and which players we hope we can keep at the club, and we'll also talk about some of our targets and plans for the summer. Finally, of course, we always go and look at the English football competitions as well as some of the big European ones to see how the football world's looking, and we'll do that at the end of this episode as well. And the player of the season vote we usually do, please let me know down in the comments who you think it is this year. I mean, looking at that player stats chart, it's pretty much a one-man battle. But of course, we haven't got the poll cards anymore in the eye above, so we have to just wait do with the comments. But I think it's fair to say it's probably going to be Ryan Lima, so no arguments with that one. But we'll start with our usual first part of the end of season review, and that is looking at our summer plans with the players we've got in place. We'll also look at how they've performed this season and why we're making such decisions. But before we go and look at that screen, a massive thank you to everyone who's followed along for another season. If you are looking forward to this end of season review again, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Of course, do get your suggestions down in the comments. I always do appreciate them. And I'll be asking a few questions as we go along as well. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe down below for daily FM20 content. We've got 2 long-term stories, a weekly live stream save. Thank you to everyone who popped along for the second episode yesterday. It's just great to hang out for a couple of hours and get to know you better. So thank you so much for coming along. There's also a Cricket 19 career twice a week and the weekly stadium review series every Sunday as well. But this is the big one today. It's Dorking Wanderers, and we've got a plan for a monstrous summer at the club. We're going to have a big transfer budget, we know that for sure. Yes, we've got 34 million left this year, but we've got 155 million in the bank and we know that's going to go up. So let's go and have a look at the squad and what we hope we'll be able to do if we get the budget we're desiring. While I do that as well, a quick thank you to everyone who's checked out the podcast channel. It has gone absolutely crazy the last 2 or 3 weeks. If you're a football purist like me and you love seeing interviews with professionals and want to get the latest on topical issues too, please do check out the channel. There's a link to it in the eye above. We've got loads of interviews with professionals during lockdown, and we've also got some topical podcasts for the big issues from the Championship down. But let's go and have a look at this squad. We haven't yet chosen our plans for the season, so I'm going to go and pick the players who I think will be leaving the club, and we'll be back in a moment to see what you guys think of it. Okay, so this is where we are for the summer. We've got 13 players on our list. The final one is a maybe, the other 12 are pretty much definites. Most of them are out on loan at the moment, and there's a few players that have been in and around the squad a few years where we want to improve. But there are also 1 or 2 other areas where we need to step up and get a big player in. I've kept Mitchell Baker off that list because I'm really desperate to get him on loan or transfer again when he goes back. It's worked the last 2 years, so I'm keeping the faith. He's the one who we have to keep here if we want to keep progressing. But let's go through the players that we're sure on. Thomas Betts is the first one. He's a centre-half, 4th choice at the moment. He's improved his personality, so we're just going to loan him out next year. Give him a chance to get football at Championship, League 1 level, whatever it may be, and see what he comes back as. He's still got 2 more years on his contract, so the following summer, if he doesn't improve, we can just sell him on. I guess the same sort of thought with Colin Petrucci. The only spanner in the works is that he's wanted by a couple of good Championship and lower Premier League clubs, and he has been throughout the season. So if one of them comes in with big money offers, or one with a big sell-on clause as well, potentially he could be on the road as well. Matthew Porteous, much in the same vein, although he is a bit older at 24, so potentially he could be going on a transfer. He's only got 1 year left on his deal and wants a big pay rise, so we have to factor that in as well. If you won't sign one on a similar wage, then we have to sell him this summer. John Keeling's loan expires, we're not going to do anything with him. Daniel Gilroy's still getting interest, he's going to be going. So I've picked out a lad who's from Argentina who I'm sure I want on a free transfer. He's in as a number 10 and would be perfect, and I think we're going to get him. So with that in mind, Daniel Gilroy is the man who is going to be sacrificed. If we can get a man in for free who's better than him and sell him on for 5-6 million, we've done a fantastic job. He's been a decent servant for the club, but that's just about it. He's not quite good enough for this level. We've then got loads of loan players as well, so Saleh, Joe Wilson, who was at the club for a few years, has made 41 appearances for us, so deserves a little farewell. Tyrese Holland, Stuart Settle, Decan Weir I wanted to keep, but he's not going to sign a new deal. He's out of contract this summer. Daniel Allison and Jamie O'Neill, who's worth bigger money. If we can get 4 or 5 million, I'm a very happy man. We got him in for $500,000. We loaned him out for the same this season. And to be honest, he hasn't quite developed the way we wanted. Now, we know part of that is the training facilities, so thank you all for your suggestions during this season of how we can get the board to upgrade them. I've tried them all, I'm afraid none of them have worked. So if you've got any more good ideas, give them a go, and we'll see if we can get them updated somehow, because it is holding this club back so much at the moment. But the final one on the list is Kane Allen. He's our backup left back at the moment behind Krizek. Krizek's not developed as much as we wanted, so I'm thinking to drop Krizek to backup and get a good first teamer in. Kane Allen's now 27. He's worth the most he has been since he joined the club, 3.3 million. And don't forget, we got him for 145 grand. So if we can then get big money in for him, that could be a massive deal. So we've got to have a think about that, and we'll come to the best decision we can. There are a couple of others that may leave as well. Ruben Santos really struggled his first season here. He's wanted by a couple of other clubs. So if we can double our money on him, then I'll probably let him go. And then Michael Stropper's the other potential big one. Worth 10 million now. If we can get 20, 25 million, I'll probably let him go. We've got a couple of keepers just as good that we're looking at. And at 26, he's not developed into that brilliant keeper he could be. He's still got potential to grow into, but it doesn't seem to be coming. And this season, he has had a poor year, so we've got to watch that as well. And after a good first 2 seasons, he seemed to have his mind taken off things a bit this year. So I'm a little bit torn on what to do on him. I'm not sure whether we'll keep him or not yet. So let me know what you think in the comments, but we may well be changing that as we go along. So that's the initial view of the squad this summer. Not a huge overhaul in terms of players out. It's just that we want to be able to promote some new players to first choice and some of our current first teamers. So the likes of McLaughlin, the likes of Jack Walker, Louis James, the right back, Lewis James, sorry. Then at left back, perhaps Krizek, drop them to backups. Nunes again in that category, he's dropped to 3-star now. We just want to make sure we bolster the squad so we've got European credentials. We might not be able to do all of what we plan in one summer, but if we can get halfway there this year and then do the rest next season, that'd be great as well. So we'll wait and see on that front. So let me know in the comments what you think of that. We're going to skip ahead to get all the end of season messages as we usually go through. And we'll be back once we've got them. We've got stadium news to come as well. And we'll see what expansions plan when we come back in a second. Well, that didn't take long at all. Just one day into the future. You remember in the last episode, despite it being awful generally on the pitch, Jutkovic did come off the bench and get the youngest ever goal scorer record at the club. Beats Kevin Kavanagh. Anyone remember him from season 1 and 2? He was a bit of a superstar for us off the bench, but he retired at 25. He could have done more than that. He was a decent player. Could have been playing in the National League still. In terms of the overall best 11, Aaron White, Lewis James, Mitchell Baker and Michael Stropper in. Baker, Stropper, James, White, all in the first 11 as well. They're really starting to push through some of the older school ones now. Still Whittaker and Presley up front though. Cameron Archer still the sub-striker. It's going to be a while before they get replaced, I'm sure. Well, will Coppens be the man to do it? The overall best 11, we're not going to worry about where they are now. Ryan Lima is a resounding player of the season with the fans. I'm sure he will be with you guys too. Aaron White signing of the season. Lima young player and goal of the season too. And another brilliant season of overachievement. No relegation this time as expected. We finished 10th, top half, despite a 9-0 defeat at United on the first episode of the season and a 6-1 defeat at Derby in the final one. In between that, we didn't do too badly, and we just about, in our new stadium, got ourselves into the top 10. We've got our club vision meeting now, and there's an important change here. We're actually expected to avoid relegation next season. No attempting to, we have got to avoid it. If we go to the squad dynamics, not a lot going on there at the moment. Managerial support excellent, dressing room atmosphere excellent, and the 3 team leaders should all be staying at the club, as should all of the highly influential ones actually. So Petrucci and Kane Allen potentially the 2 highest ones to leave, unless Stropper throws a tantrum of course. And that suggests that next season we should be quite settled. We're going to ask the lads to stay up next season in the end of team meeting. We'll do that off camera in a minute. And we are going to try and make money this year. So we're going to go to the USA in our pre-season tour and try and start to become a commercial outlet or two. Watford have been relegated. Zach Council's available on a free. You can bet your bottom dollar I'll be going in for him. He'll be one of the players we'll be trying to sign, along with many others as well. But we're going to keep those a surprise for a minute. We're going to do what we usually do, come back in June and do our end of season review of all the competitions in England and Europe. But before that, what we're also going to do is look at some of our transfer news for the summer. It's not something I often do in this episode, but I'm going to give a bit of a sneak preview. So I hope you'll join me in a minute for that, where we should find out about the stadium as well. So, stadium news, and big stadium news. We initially thought the capacity was going to be increased around 5,000. It's now going up by nearly 7,500. That will take us over 20,000, 21,430. That's going to be quite big. That's going to compete with Premier League level. The only downside, of course, is it's a big cost. It's going to take a long time to complete, and it means we're going to have to ground share with another new club. So this time we're heading over to Fulham to share Craven Cottage. How many more are we going to have in this series, honestly? Hopefully it will be the last one, but we are going to Craven Cottage and we are playing away from home for another season. Unfortunately, the other bad news is we've missed out on Zach Council. He's agreed terms with Udinese. We've also had a blank message, which is a bit bizarre. Who appreciates my efforts to resolve the situation? Not quite sure, we'll never know. And we've also got our first signing of the summer, and it's this number 10 I was talking about. So I'm not going to show you his attributes, but just to give you an indicator, he is coming in as a star player, so Captain Peter McLaughlin has got his work cut out next year. A 27-year-old Argentinian, and could that be the first of many bits of stardust joining the club this season? We'll wait and see on that. We've got Kane Allen, the left-back, signing a new deal, so probably more likely he's going to stay now. But there's only one reason we're back at this stage. We need to have a look at the footballing pyramid and find out what's going on. But before that, there's one question I need to answer that was asked in the comments, and that question is, are we now a club icon or a club legend at Dorking Wanderers? And it was a question I genuinely hadn't looked at the answer to. So let's have a look. We are a legend. We've moved up into the legends alongside Mark White. Good to see one of the older players, Matthew Smith, in the icons, as is Ryan Lima, one of the current stars, and Tordoff and Moles in favoured personnel. One, that's a bit harsh on Moles. He should be up there with Matthew Smith. Secondly, Jack Walker's now broken the appearance record and he's not in there. That seems harsh on him. And thirdly, we moved up to 3.5-star reputation, so hopefully that'll make a bit of a difference in a transfer window. We still can't compete financially or reputation-wide with a number of championship clubs, but I'm hoping as we move forward that'll start to change. But at the moment, a few bits of frustration. We still can't do anything with them training facilities. The youth facilities are improving again. There's no message to do anything with the training ones, which is really annoying me still. And again, look, the board looking to sell the club next season. So you can see with that number 10, I was trying to get deals agreed early, and I will continue to. Because if we end up getting a consortium bid at the end of June, we're going to miss out on the whole of the transfer window to bring players in. And we have to have a squad that's ready for next season. So we're going to try and work a bit earlier this summer, get a base squad in place, and then we can add 3 or 4 more later on if we need to. So let me know what you think of all the news off the pitch, but for us, it's all about the football pyramid. So let's start with the Premier League, as we always do. We've got Chelsea as champions for the first time in 3 years. They finished on 96 points, 7 clear of last season's champions United, and in third close behind was the season before's champions Liverpool. They seem to be the 3 dominant forces in England here. The other ones all dropping away. Arsenal won it 5 years back, but they've dropped off completely. City not in sight for 7 years, and Tottenham nowhere to be seen. Going down, Watford, Middlesbrough and Aston Villa. Aston Villa one we're particularly keen on because they stole one of our summer targets last year, Jerome Yonton, and he's now available for transfer again. So the plan is that we're going to wait until they get relegated and his wage drops by 25%, and then if he hasn't been signed by someone else, then we're going to put in a bid immediately. He's natural as a box-to-box midfielder, can be our replacement for Nunes in there, and he'll be a perfect partner for Boyce. That means Nunes will then be a sub at Premier League level, and we start to look like a strong squad in one area of the team. That's where we're going to move forward. We've done the same up front in January with Martin Prescott as backup. We've got a couple of other attacking areas like the left wing where we've got strong competition. So we've got to keep improving that across the squad. We've got to find some way of getting some stars in defence as well. But that's the Premier League. Let's go and move on to the Championship and see who's rejoining us next season. So Bournemouth win the playoffs. They're joined by Burnley and Southampton, all clubs that started in the Premier League, and they're all back at that level again. Sunderland relegated back to League One. Doncaster and Chesterfield as well, but Sunderland cannot get going in this series. The early entertainers Nottingham Forest floating just above the relegation zone, but doing okay for now. Into League One, how are my beloved Luton Town getting on? They finished in 9th. Southend back up to the Championship. Portsmouth and Wigan up there as well. Going down, Oldham, Port Vale, Walsall and Colchester. So a few clubs moving around a division or two, but no massive shocks so far. Not compared to the last couple of years anyway. So let's move to League 2. Again, you can pause this throughout and let me know if there's anything that stands out. Chester going back to League 1, that looks like a big one. Started in the National League North, so that's the 3 division difference. Wickham, Plymouth and Carlisle going up with them. Bromley relegated back to non-league. Scunthorpe down to the National League 2. And Havant and Waterlooville make it to the Football League. That must be a first in this series. It is. So Havant and Waterlooville to the Football League, arguably the biggest story so far. Stevenage promoted back to that level. For me as a local football fan to there, that's beneficial for us. They won it at a canter as well. Fleetwood relegated. Wow, from League 1 down to the National League North. They're making that journey back down the pyramid after the one up it a few years back. It's been a really strange couple of years for them. They only got relegated from League 2 last year, finishing 24th, and they're down in 23rd place. They've got insecure finances, so are they another one of those that's ended up with a youth team? Sort of. They've got a fair bit of experience there. You wouldn't expect them to be dropping that quickly. So that could be something for a live stream in the future, saving one of those clubs. But Fleetwood Town down to the National League North, that's a big drop from them in this series. So lots of big news in the National League this year. Let's drop down to the North, see if there's any other surprises there. Hales Owen and FC United promoted. Bradford Park Avenue, Basford, Gloucester and Everson down. Cambridge United finishing below Cambridge City and only just avoiding relegation out of the playable leagues. I tell you what, down the bottom is starting to get a bit funny. Let's move to the National League South. Farnborough promoted via the playoffs alongside Bath City. Into the relegation zone, Maidstone on 13 points, Chelmsford, Kingstonian and Chippenham. So I'll tell you what, there are a few standout performances there, but the National League itself is the main one. Staines, our feeder club, doing really well, solidifying their position here in the National League South and starting to edge towards promotion contention. Let's hope we can help them with that further next year. But certainly some interesting moments there, particularly in the National League. Let's move on to the FA Cup. Chelsea the holders, completing a double. They beat Manchester City 3-2 in an exciting final. They won it for the second year in a row there. In the Carabao Cup, Chelsea complete a domestic treble, beating Manchester City again in the final. 8 years they hadn't won it, but they've managed to get back on the board, so fair play to them there. Interesting to see that the Carabao Cup dominated by the top 6 sides every season. Community Shield won by Chelsea, quadruple. Are they completing a clean sweep? We move to the leasing.com trophy, Coventry winning it in an all first team final, Preston the losers on this occasion, and the FA Trophy won by Havant and Waterlooville. So a playoff victory at Wembley to get to the Football League and an FA Trophy final win. What a double at Wembley for them. Fantastic news for Havant. And the Champions League has completed the sweep. Chelsea have won absolutely everything. They've won the Champions League on penalties against United, an all-English final, 5 winners in a row from England, but Chelsea have won all 3 of the big domestic competitions, the Champions League, the Community Shield. What more can you ask from them? That is incredible. Who's in charge? It is Zinedine Zidane. He's going to be a very sought-after manager now. Already in real life a very good manager. Won 3 Champions Leagues in a row with Real Madrid and the 5 trophy sweep with Chelsea. That is not bad working whatsoever. We've had an all-English final in the Europa League as well. City winning it against Everton. They'll probably just be pleased they didn't have to play Chelsea in a final. And down to the Europa League 2. Any Scottish representation? No. Olympiacos. Greek winners for the first time. A Spanish finalist in Real Sociedad. Let's go and look at the semis. I'm trying to find a Scottish side. Again, not real representation late on. Hearts the latest in the last 16 and they lost to St Etienne quite heavily. So a bit of a strange competition, and our head coach side, Borussia Mönchengladbach, they seem to do quite well in that one. Erling Haaland, the top scorer, joint with his teammate Eddie Nketiah. Wow, that is an interesting turn of events there. No such experience in our save with Gladbach. You can go and check that one out in the eye above if you're not up to date. A good first season for us in Germany, but we haven't got experience like that at the club. Finally, the European Super Cup, again an English winner, is Manchester United beating Juventus, a 1-0 victory, and I'm sure Chelsea will go and win that one next year. But some really interesting moments there in English football, particularly the National League, a couple of really big surprises. So let me know if I missed anything else or what you thought of the English pyramid, but for me that was a pretty interesting look. Let me know down in the comments too what you thought of our season. If you did enjoy this end of season review and like what we've got planned for the summer, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Of course, we'll be back on Friday for a big transfer special ahead of our first Premier League game of the season on Monday. Who will it be against? How will we get on? And will it be another new home ground in Craven Cottage? If you don't want to miss that and make sure you're up to date with the content, subscribe down below and turn those notifications on. You'll get alerts as daily content releases on the channel from both long-term FM20 stories, as well as 2 episodes a week from Cricket 19, a weekly stadium review series, and my weekly live stream every Tuesday morning. If you're available at 10 AM next Tuesday, please do pop along and hang out. It's great fun. We have a good time. We just have a bit of a chat for 2 hours and play a bit of Football Manager in a Youth Academy challenge too. Finally, please do check out the podcast channel in the eye above as well. For football fans, I really would appreciate you giving it a try. We've got interviews with loads of professionals at different levels, both players, coaches, people who have been involved in different roles, so please do give that a try. There's also matchday vlogs from time gone by when we could attend football matches, and there's topical episodes at the moment, a few relating to my beloved Luton Town as well, and mostly surrounding the EFL mess that's occurred. It's really taken off the last few weeks, and the views have basically times by about 100, so thank you so much for trying it, and we really can't thank you enough for your support. But a massive thanks for following along with Dorking for another season. I really am enjoying the One Club story, and hopefully next year we can have a big summer transfer window, push towards Europe in the Premier League. So join me on Friday to find out who's joining the party, and whether they've got what it takes to take us up the league.